Hi guys, Big Monday here, and today I want to do a brief video on what items to choose. Now, this is going to be a generic video for, if you just don't know what to get partway through a game, or if you're getting shit on, or something like that. It's not a specific buy this on this hero. The only thing I would say this won't apply to is hard carries. They would apply to pretty much any support and any other than your position 1. So if you're somebody who's supposed to be the tank, most of these would apply. If you're somebody who's like the mid hero, most of these would apply, and that's partly because of the reasoning. We'll go over that in a sec. So why does that apply? Well, because all of these items have the ability to increase our survivability, they increase the time we spend on the map, and they also increase our team's survivability. And they've also all got really easy build-ups. So, I'm going to put the Spange last on the list because it's probably the worst one. It's got a really good item that it upgrades into, but it's not great on its own. Okay, so firstly, we've got the Glimmer Cape. Now, it's quite obvious with that. If you're having a bad game, this item has a relatively easy build-up. It doesn't give you any HP, but it does give you spell resistance. So if you've got, say, a Zeus or a Lena that's totally shitting on you, this is going to keep you alive longer. But it also has the ability to save an ally, which is kind of what all these items in this video are going to be focused on. That sometimes you'll have a game where your carry can't farm and you just lose team fights because of it. And if you can then sort of tailor your build in such a way that you keep your carry alive longer, or maybe get him out of fights, then even if that carry is not particularly good at farming, a lot of the times you'll find that just because you're putting everything you have into keeping them alive, they will start to at least get the odd assist and kill and so on in fights, and then they'll sort of start to snowball into bigger items, where sometimes the game's just going badly and they just can't do that on their own. So buying one of these cheap items that gives your carry a boost and the rest of your team a boost can really help. So the Glimmer Cape, easy enough. It makes somebody invisible and will potentially save their life. And that can be really important. You might still lose the fight, but you can get your carry out. And if you get your carry out, he doesn't lose gold and he's finally at least going to get items. If you can make sure your carry doesn't die in the fight, awesome. So, next item, Medallion of Courage. This is a really underused item in my opinion. Now, it's used quite a lot on heroes that want to go solo Roche, because what they'll do, they'll reduce Roche's armor so they do more damage, and then they'll rely on their lifesteal to heal them rather than the armor to reduce the damage. But this can be a really good item for team fights. If you've got a lot of physical damage carries, like a PA, a Sven, if a team fight starts and all your right-click heroes dive on somebody, you can medallion the enemy to make sure that the enemy carry just gets blown up immediately before they can respond, which instantly makes the fight a 5-on-4. And in a lot of cases, if you can do that, you'll end up not even having to spend a lot of your nukes, because the extra damage from the armor reduction on this is really, really good. If you get initiated on, or you think you've got a long, drawn-out fight, as would be the case usually with an Omni Knight, the extra armor you can give to a Sven or a PA or whoever is going to make them massively more survivable. If you look at his stats on this, he's got 38% physical damage reduction. And if I cast the Medallion on him, he's now got 50% physical damage reduction. So you just reduce the damage he's going to take by 12%. Now, if you're losing a fight to enemy carries, then that's a big difference, because the enemy carry is going to be mostly physical. There's 12% extra damage. It's 12% longer he's going to stay alive, so 12% more time he can get assist gold. He could do additional damage of his own that might swing the fight even if he dies, and it's sort of more chance for him to actually pick up the kill. Now, if you're against somebody like a Witch Doctor who's got physical nukes that also reduces the damage they do. So it can keep them alive longer. Just 1 or 2 right clicks sometimes can be enough to swing a fight. You'll see, I'm sure all of you have seen a time in a game where you've got one guy who's off farming and he's like, oh, I need to farm because I don't have a 30k gold net worth yet. And he's off farming, and you ask him to join a fight, and he's like, nah, he can't be bothered with that, I'm just going to farm. And you have this team fight where all of you get wiped, but all of the enemy team had like 20 health. Almost everybody's had that situation at one point, because basically what will happen is you'll nearly kill someone and they'll get away, and then you'll nearly kill someone else and they'll get away, and you'll nearly kill someone else and they'll get away. If that 5th person had joined the fight, that would have been 5 kills. Even if you'd have lost some of your team, it would have been 5 kills they could have got. Instead of farming 5 creeps in a jungle camp, they could have farmed 5 heroes. But alas, you know, it's pub games, we have to put up with that shit. But yeah, next is the Vlads. Now the Vlads is really good because it can help a carry do Roche earlier. Again, this build on, if you're a poor support and the game is going badly, this build, just the Medallion of Courage and the Vlads, can have a big impact. Because if you're like on a game where you think you're like, you know what, we're totally screwed, you can smoke up, go into Roche with these, and even though your carry hasn't got that much damage, because you have these 2 items, it's probably going to be enough. And you can do that in a game even when you think the Roche is going to be really, really risky. If you've got nothing to lose, you can be like, okay, screw it, let's go Roche. In games where you're not having to do that all-in like bullshit play, you can follow your carry around the jungle. You can medallion the big creep in each creep camp, and he's going to be able to kill that faster. You're going to soak up XP and get levels, which is what a lot of supports really struggle with. And your carry is going to get the lifesteal from the Vlads, so he's going to always be on full HP. So if a fight does break out, he's going to always be ready for a fight. So that's why the Vlads is really good. You can sort of follow him around, make sure your carry is ready. It also increases all your team's damage when they're in an area. So when you go into a team fight, you've got this sort of 15% lifesteal for melee, 10% for range. Again, in a fight, you're talking sort of 200-300 healing at least, even in bad fights. 15% more damage, so it increases the chance of your team surviving, and it increases the chance of them getting killed. So if you're having a carry that's struggling, he can't quite get enough damage, this can sometimes tip them over that edge to the point where they're not necessarily just going to win team fights because the Vlad isn't that OP, but if you get a fight that's unwinnable, it can tip it to the point where it is winnable at least. So that 15% extra damage and the 15% lifesteal to keep them alive longer, that can tip fights. And if you get a fight that, if you're having a really horrible game and you've got fights that are sort of totally uneven, you don't stand a chance. If you can get if you can buy a set of lads that will even the fight, and then your team will then just sort of kite the enemy a bit, get them to overcommit, because they'll be really overconfident if they're shitting on you every fight. You get them to overcommit, and all of a sudden you're on an even playing field with them, and their carry dives in, thinking, oh, we're going to totally shit on them. You get an easy kill on the carry, and then because you've got the Vlads, your team is still on reasonably good health, so you can then chase into the 4 that are left. So yeah, Vlad's always a brilliant item. Even if you think it's a bad hero to get it on, this is what I want to get across. Even if it's a bad hero to get it on, all of these items are good, regardless. Unless you're a hard carry, all these items are good. All of them. Because they have a cheap, easy build-up. So they can have impact without having to wait. It's not going to take you 10 minutes to farm them and shit like that. Sometimes if you're having a bad game, you can't wait to get your Guardian Greaves. You can't wait to get an Assault Curious. You've got to go with something that's going to have some immediate impact. Okay, on most supports now, an Urn of Shadows is usually really good. The reason for that is it gives a little bit of mana regen, and even on a Crystal Maiden who has a lot of mana regen, I will usually get an Urn of Shadows, and the reason is you'll find a lot of the time as a CM, and as most supports you'll have the same issue, that in the early game, because you don't get any farm, you don't get any items, you're really, really squishy, and this gives you a decent amount of extra HP. See, I'm on 1073, so it gives me 115 HP. which is really good. I mean, the 115 HP. This is an item that on a support you can buy sort of 5 or 6 minutes into the game, and in a lot of games you'll get fights, whereas as a support you get picked off, and basically you get nuked, you get burst down, whatever. If you buy an urn, you're then no longer getting nuked and you're no longer getting wrecked. And what this gives you a chance to do is it gives you a chance to respond to the fight and counter initiate. Now you might end up still dying, but the extra time you buy for your carry means that while you're in the laning phase at least, there's a good chance that they'll pick up a kill. So you die as a support, but your carry picks up the kill, and this sort of sacrificial play is totally worth it. Whereas if you didn't have that urn, you just get blown up immediately, there's no fight. So this can really save your life. And the mana regen, you'll find on a lot of supports, because again, you don't have the money to just keep burning clarities, and you don't have the money to buy the big mana regen items. Sometimes your middle tower basically need the mana for your full combo as often as possible. And that extra mana regen is a cheap way to get the mana regen. And it's just an all-round good item. Plus, if you do get a couple of kills, you can then use it offensively. I mean, in the laning phase, this does 150 damage, which late game, when everyone's got 3k health, is not a lot. But when you're in the laning phase, and everybody's got like 700 health, that 150 has a huge impact. So if you win a fight, even if you lose, even if you die, as long as you get a charge, when you come back to lane, always keep one urn charge in case a fight breaks out. Because you can put it on an enemy, and let's say you've got a PA, for example, who doesn't have a lot of health. She's hard to hit, but she doesn't have a lot of health. That's 150 health. You're going to guarantee taking off her. Again, a TA, an urn, is totally broken against, because it's going to take off every single one of the refraction charges. Okay, moving on. Drum of Endurance. Again, this is a really good all-round item. It gives 9 all attributes, which again is going to give you a decent chunk of health. I drop this. Again, it's about 150 HP. So again, like the urn, it's very, very good at keeping you alive in fights where you just get burst down before you have a chance to react. And let's say on a CM, for example, is a brilliant example. I play CM loads, and both these items, the amount of health they give you, they would give you the chance to survive being stunned and then counter stun. And then even if you don't have time to walk out after that, the counter stun means your carry can get a kill. But as well as that sort of benefit of keeping you alive, which to be fair, if we just have a quick look at that in the shop, the bracer itself actually gives you most of the benefit of that. So again, if you're struggling to stay alive in lane, if you get blown up before you get a chance to throw your stuns in the laning phase, just buying a casual bracer can really keep you alive a lot longer. And again, if you can just throw out your stuns and counter initiate, you a lot of the time that's enough to get you the gold to move you on to the next items. Okay, so but the drum, it also gives you 5 attack speed aura, which doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not huge. But on most heroes, particularly in the early game, you're looking at somewhere around 150 to 200 attack speed. So the 5% represents about 3%, depending on what hero you're with. It represents about a 3% attack speed increase, which is also a 3% damage increase. So again, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the drum is more about the active than the passive. But 3% is not to be argued with. I mean, 3%, nobody's ever complained about 3% extra damage. Again, if we're having even fights that we're losing purely because our carry doesn't have enough damage, that's 3% more damage the carry's going to do. And if he's got lifesteal, that's 3% more health he's going to get back. So 3% longer is going to stay alive in a fight. So you might have these situations where it's a fairly even fight, you get a drum, and all of a sudden you win the fight. Okay, so but then the active, okay, 25% attack speed, 13% movement speed. A lot of people don't appreciate the movement speed with this, but it gives you the ability to chase people who are trying to kite around trees. A lot of the time, particularly with range heroes, as people dodge and weave in and out of trees, you lose vision, you can't right-click them. With the extra speed, it allows you the time to get positioning on them to right-click them more, or to get off your spells. But the attack speed, again, most heroes got 150 to 200 attack speed. They do go higher late game, obviously, but 150 to 200 attack speed. So you're effectively going to give them like about 20 to 25% extra attack speed, which is 25% extra damage. So again, if you've got a fight that's fairly even, all of a sudden you're winning it. So you might feel, oh, this item doesn't do a lot for me, but what it does do is it does a huge amount for your carry. So if you've got a carry that's struggling, this is partly why. Now, in a lot of low-tier games, you'll get carries who rage that they're dying because they have had supports, and usually that's wrong. They are dying because they're retards, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. But in a lot of games, it is because they have bad supports. I mean, you look at, basically, my entire net worth in this game is to make my Sven stronger. So, I've put like 4k net worth into Sven. So, yeah, Sven might have a little bit low net worth for a carry, but I'm giving him 4k extra, which then puts him on even on par with the enemy carrier and makes it possible for him to challenge her when he's had a bad game. Okay, Spange. Now, this is kind of a bit of an iffy one, but there are good reasons to take it. Now, the reason it's a bit of an iffy is because it doesn't have a massive impact, and it's one of the more expensive of these sort of smaller supporting items. However, the movement speed and attack speed slow can have a big impact on a fight. If you have an enemy that is all right click, like PA, you're effectively going to reduce the her attack speed by 20, which by the time her attack speed is actually quite low. I forget what it is exactly, but let's say it's 120. Once she's used her like blink attack speed, she's got like 120 attack speed. You're going to reduce that by 20. So that's like, I'm not going to do the maths properly because it's awkward. There's like 20% less damage she's going to have. Okay, yes, you can still do massive crits, but that's 20% less damage you can have. Our Sven is going to stay alive 20% longer. That's 20% more time. Our skills might come back off cooldown. It's 20% more time for Sven to right click, 20% longer for his stun. You see where I'm going with this. The point is, all these things keep our carry alive longer in a fight and give us more time to play around the enemy's lead.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Okay, so the main reason we like the Spange on a support that's being shit on is this.
Your middle tower
the amount of health it gives us is massive. If you are getting shit on as a support, it's a massive amount of health. I mean, look, 883, 300 health, pretty much, from the Spange. 300 health. So, as somebody like a Crystal Maiden who gets blown up easily, that's a massive extra amount of survivability. And the build-up into the Spange, if you tell me you can't afford a belt of strength, then you can fuck off and go and uninstall Dota. Anybody can afford a belt of strength. So the build-up for this is fantastic. I would recommend, if you can, while you're trying the build-up, you buy an Ogre Club, because that will it will increase your HP pool a lot more, but still.
Your top tower is under attack.
Okay, and the last reason we like to buy this is for the Heaven's Halberd, which I have just lost because I dragged the wrong item over. So, Heaven's Halberd. It gives us more strength than the Spange, so it makes us even more survivable. The reason I've left these items, okay, just quickly, all the items I've got on the courier here, they're kind of the more expensive items, so the ones you would buy on supports or sort of support core style supports that are doing well and have got a lot of gold, or they're ones you would go into after you've bought the first few I showed you and then sort of recovered your game and got a bit more gold. So 1800 to convert it into the Heaven's Halberd, that is a massive amount of gold for a support. However, you know, if you've managed to turn it around, it's a really useful item. So straight away it gives us a huge HP pool, which can keep your supports alive and stop you getting burst. But it gives you 25% evasion as well, which gives you, against right clicks and sort of mid to late game as a support, is the right clicks that are usually going to be killing you. It gives you 25% evasion, so you've got 25% more health effectively, which is 12. It's another 300 health. So straight away now we've got 1500 health against, say, a PA or a Sven. And that extra health is what can keep you alive long enough for your team to react with stuns and heals and whatever else. But we've also got the active. Now the active, somebody jumps our Sven, let's say a Legion Commander jumps our Sven with a duel, we can then Heaven's Halberd the Legion Commander, making sure you wait till she's used her purge and actually gone into the duel. But we can Heaven's Halberd the Legion Commander, and she can't right click anything. Quite often you'll see in pub games, if you get a Heaven's Halberd as a support, you will have a carry like a PA who will dive into a fight. You Heaven's Halberd them, and they don't even realise they've been halberded. They just sort of stand there like. You'll see the character as they try and right click other people, and the character will sort of go like this as they try and right click other people. That is the person at the other side of the screen on that carry going, I don't understand what's happening. It's because they're stupid and they don't know that you can buy a Heaven's Halberd on supports. Now, you have to be careful with it because a BKB will purge it. So you need to use it on somebody who has already used their BKB in a fight or hasn't got one. So don't bother using it on supports. If you're using it on a Crystal Maiden or like, I don't know, a Witch Doctor, you are wasting it because they don't right click very hard anyway. So even if you have to wait and wait and wait and wait out the BKBs, do that. And I've been in so many fights as a Crystal Maiden where we've spent everything, ran out of mana completely, enemies use their BKBs, and I'm just waiting for the mana regen to bring my spells back up, and this comes up, and the only person left on the enemy team is a super fat PA, and we just can't kill her. But I now have a Heaven's Halberd, she's used a BKB, you disarm her, and all of a sudden she can't do shit. And that is 4 seconds where we can right click her and she can't do anything about it. She can't burst us, she can't kill us, she can't crit us, nothing. She can't do anything. And when you're playing somebody like a Crystal Maiden, there's a very good chance that your stun will come up by the time that ends. Which means you can chain disable people. Which makes this a really, really good item. Again, it's a little bit expensive on supports, but if you are suffering for HP pool and if you are you needing an item with an easy build-up because you're having a hard game, then it's worth it. Sometimes the easy build-up is what makes an item worth it. Okay, so next, the Medallion. We can obviously we swap it for a Solar Crest. So again, it's really expensive to build up to that. But again, it makes it so we can take Roche a hell of a lot faster. Gives us a little bit more armor than the Medallion. So the Medallion's only 7, the Solar Crest 10. Again, it passes that on to our carry if we cast it on a friendly. So Sven is now going to 54% physical damage reduction rather than his usual 38. No, 37 at the moment. Sorry. So that could be there's a big impact that can save his life. But now we're also giving him 25% evasion. So again, if he gets jumped by somebody like a PA, 25% of those attacks are going to hit. 25% longer he's going to stay alive for 7 seconds, and then we can cast it again. And again, just like the Medallion, you can use it on Roche, or if you initiate the fight, you can cast it on someone to make sure they get blown up immediately before they have time to respond. Okay, other items. Now, these are, again, really expensive on a support that is struggling, but they are both super OP. The pipe, one of the things about the pipe is, just like the Vlads, it will give you sustain. So if you're out in the jungle farming, following your carry, he is going to get good amount of health regen, you're going to get a good amount of health regen. So you can stay in out on the map longer. Now, almost every game, there will be an enemy hero that does at least 400 spell damage. In the odd weird game, there will not be. And if there is nobody on the enemy team that does spell damage, then you probably don't need a pipe. It's probably a waste of gold. But in games where you've got a Zeus, where you've got an Invoker, as long as they're doing 400 damage in an AoE, a pipe is worth it. And if you get a Zeus, for example, he's going to cast his lightning bolt and do like 100 after reduction, like 100 damage to like everybody on your team. He's going to cast that 4 times to have any impact with a pipe, which again, it can massively turn a fight to basically nerf the enemy team's damage. The Guardian Greaves, again, it's a really expensive item, but the build-up is pretty good, and it solves a lot of problems that supports have, like mana pool. And as a support, quite often you'll have a problem of getting silenced. It removes debuffs, so basically you can wait till the fight starts. If you're expecting somebody to silence you, like a Death Prophet, you wait out the Greaves. Make sure you cast Greaves at the start of a fight. So as soon as the enemy throws their first set of nukes, you cast the Greaves. And the reason for that is because it also gives additional armor. So it's going to reduce the damage they take. Whereas if you cast it on somebody who's only got 50 HP, or you wait till they've only got 50 HP, all they're going to get from it is the heal. Whereas if you give them the extra armor over their entire HP pool, it's a massive amount of difference. So what you do is you wait for the enemy to throw a nuke that costs your team a little bit of health, and then you cast the Greaves. So you would only really save it a little bit if you're expecting somebody to silence you, and you have to kind of strike a balance then between casting it early and waiting out the silence. So if for some weird reason the enemy is just saving their silences for you, then you probably just throw it out early anyway. But usually what you'll find is somebody like a silencer who will silence everybody, and then you debuff the silence from this. I'm not sure if it can cancel global silence. So it removes most negative buffs. And again, the aura that gives a huge amount of health regen and armor when your allies are low, that makes people super survivable. And it has one amazing feature for pub games, in that pubs tend to tunnel vision. What I mean by that is when they see someone below a certain threshold, and you've probably done this in bot games where you see a bot sees you below, say, 20% health, they will follow you across the map into the fountain. They are that stupid. If you're below, it doesn't matter if you can kill them, you can one-shot them, whatever. If you are low, they will chase you. This is called tunnel vision. And a lot of the time, in pub games particularly, people will tunnel vision. A huge amount. And as you get higher MMR, you'll find it happens less and less. But even at my MMR, I'm sort of 3k, just over 3k actually. Say around the 3k mark, people will tunnel vision quite a lot. And what they will then do is they'll chase somebody, even though they're only hitting them for like 5 damage, and they'll just keep trying to hit them, regardless, because they don't. All they see is that lone hero. They do not see the 4 allies of that hero moving in to kill them, because they've tunnel visioned. All they can see is their target. And sometimes you'll get an enemy team who the entire enemy team will tunnel vision. I could, as an Omni Knight, I could repel him, I could Guardian Angel him so he can't take magic or physical damage, yet there are people on the enemy team in pub games that will still chase that Sven to the ends of the earth while they're being attacked, because people are stupid. Okay, so just to be clear, I do not think these items are necessarily good on everybody. There are better items to get on
Your
most
top tower
heroes,
is under attack.
but they are all items that will have a significant impact on team fights and can swing things your way, and they all have
Your
easy
top
build-ups
tower is
if
under
you're
attack.
having a rough game. And sometimes just buying a small item can be enough to stop you getting
Your
shit on.
top tower is under attack.
So
The
basically
enemy's
what you
bottom
would do
tower
with getting
has
these,
fallen.
unless you would naturally get one of these items on your hero, what you would do is you say, right, are we struggling
Your
in
top tower
fights?
is under attack.
If the answer is yes, you then go, right, can I farm a big item before the next fight? If the answer is no, you start working on one of these.
Your
Because
top tower is under attack.
that will have the fight impact you need to carry you to the next item. But if you just keep losing the fights, you lose again and again and again, and then you just lose the game. And nobody likes just losing the game because that sucks ass. There's one thing I want to test just because I got questioned about it recently, and I don't know. Really, I don't have enough gold.
Your middle tower is
Somebody
under
told me
attack.
recently that Mech and Greaves do not stack.
Your middle tower is under attack.
So we're going to test that out. Because I've never seen anyone get both in a game. Oops. So, first off, do the auras stack. You can see here that we are showing both auras from the Mech and the Greaves on both me and on Sven. So Sven is getting 8 HP regen from those items. Not sure what he's getting from everything else, but let's take a bit of health off him. So this guy's hitting for like 160. He's taking less than 100 damage a swing, and that's because of all his armor. But anyway, yeah, so he's getting 13 HP regen. If I drop the Mech, yeah, he loses 4. Oops. Wrong hero. If I drop the Greaves, he loses 4. So he is getting the regen from both. Okay, 7 plus 7 armor. Still on 7 plus 7. Okay, so he lost 2 armor from the Greaves. The Greaves do only give 2 aura armor. Of course, the Mech doesn't give armor aura.
Their blades will break apart.
So, if we get the heal from both, that's 250 health, 500 health. So it should put Sven, if we stop that and we wait till he's on sort of 500, and then we'll pop both. Okay, so you only get the 1 heal. Mechanism Restore and Guardian Greaves Mend will not affect units who have recently been healed by Restore or Mend. Right, so to clarify, you cannot get the heal from both of those, but you can get the aura bonus. Okay, fair enough. Anyway guys, I hope you found this useful. Let me know in the comments if you do. Thanks for watching guys, bye bye.